When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the World. I'm SeptumSin. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake, and we're here to show you what we got.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh, boy.
Yes. What we got?
This week we got 6 for you,
Yep.
and we're hoping that this is going to be a fun pickup.
Yep. I'm going to start and end with American stuff with anime in the middle. So, my first one is actually a movie that I've been wanting to see for a little while. I checked it out from the library and turned it back in because I couldn't get around to it. Unfortunately. I feel bad about that. And then the other day I was just walking by the $4 bin at Walmart and I looked down and I saw, holy crap, what is this doing in the $4 bin at Walmart? And when I picked it up and saw the Magnolia label on it, I was like, what the hell is this doing at Walmart at all? Because they don't do a lot of Magnolia stuff. But this is a film came out a couple of years ago. It was one of the last films from the late, great character actor Harry Dean Stanton. And it's a film called Lucky. And it starred Harry Dean Stanton as Lucky. And by all accounts, this is one of his greatest roles. He really supposedly was pretty awesome. But it's not just him. This also features, of all people, David Lynch in an acting role, Ron Livingston, Ed Begley Jr., Tom Skerritt, some other people I'm less familiar with. But still, I mean, just the idea of Harry Dean Stanton, David Lynch, and Tom Skerritt together in a movie, I've got to see it. But it's apparently just about this dude who's been around for many, 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 many years. As they say on the back, having outlived and outsmoked all his contemporaries. The fiercely independent Lucky finds himself at the precipice of life, thrust into a journey of self-exploration, leading towards that which is so often unattainable, enlightenment. In other words, it's very similar to the film that came out the year later starring Sam Elliott called The Hero. But this was pretty much Dean Stanton's swan song. It was the last major film he did before his passing. And this guy, if you're not familiar with him, he is that guy. Going all the way back, I think, to the 60s.
Wow.
Like, he was in movie after movie after movie. He was in a couple of the spaghetti westerns back in the 60s. He's been around that long. And just, he was an underrated actor. And I'm looking forward to that. $4, I was like, I can't pass it up, you know?
So I've got 2 films and 4 video games this time. As those of you who are looking at the thumbnail will see. So, one of them is by a director that I have had an interesting relationship, which is John Johnson. Matter of fact, both of these are John Johnson films, but they're very different John Johnson films.
Did you get this week's view?
Huh?
This week's choice?
That's not one of his.
Oh, okay. I misinterpreted some of the commentary.
Well, no, I wasn't going to pay $20 for that one. And by the way, if you want to see, God, what was the name of that movie? Killer Titties or something like
Killer
that? Killer Rack. Yeah, so essentially the same thing. I mean, watching
it probably would sell better.
It's done by it's made by the guy who directed Slime City, and he's a nice one. And if you haven't seen it, you should check out the interview that myself and David Streggy did with the director of Slime City and Killer Rack at Movies Galore. So check out Inside Movies Galore, and you too can see that. And this week, if you haven't seen our discussion, check it out. So, any case, the first one of these two is one I haven't seen, but looks like a very much horror film. I saw the cover, I had to get it, which is The Jester. This one I had to buy off of Darknet itself. Or not Darknet. Darkstone Entertainment site itself.
You bought it off the Darknet.
And so that's where you would get it if you're looking for a copy. So it says here, he's come back for revenge and a child. Grimmel, a court jester, was put to death after falling in love with a princess. And as he was burned alive, he learned the princess was carrying his child. The king, enraged by the news, slaughtered the princess and Grimmel's unborn child in front of his eyes. With his dying breath, Grimmel vowed they would dread the day he returned. Centuries later, a fantasy novelist discovers a fairy tale that leads to a fantastic story and a resurrection. So there's some supernatural elements here, some monster elements. I am looking forward to checking this out. He's kind of hit or miss with me, but there is something about the entropy factor that always intrigues me about this director. So, that's Chichester.
So, my next one is we're finally getting back, after, I guess, a couple weeks apart, to my pickups from the last big Sentai, or set of Sentai sales. And honestly, I don't remember what I paid for this, but I want to say it was like $8. I think it was one of the cheap ones. And this one's been on my list for a little while, and I just finally got around to picking up. And it is Psychic Detective Yakumo. And I frankly don't know a great deal about this, except that it's sort of like a supernatural detective series.
Well, it's obviously a psychic detective.
Yeah, obviously. And it's supposed to be decent. I haven't heard any extraordinary commentary one way or the other. So it should be fun.
Well, this next one is a slightly different and older John Johnson film. I have watched a film of his called Darken, which I've talked a bit about, and I want to do a review on, but the last 2 times I tried to film it, it got corrupted. So I just gotta get up the will to do it again.
Maybe that's the universe giving you a sign.
This is one that I've watched recently called Ratchet. And this particular film is about a writer. He's a filmmaker and writer, and he comes to this place for inspiration. And he stumbles upon this strange murder plot, and he is intrigued. But his study of the plot may lead him to his own murder. It's not a bad thriller, but it did not hold my interest as much as I had hoped it would. It had a fairly nice twist at the end, but it was not enough for me to get a really visceral bad reaction or good reaction from, which I do definitely need at least somewhat of one before I can do another review. So, unfortunately, Ratchet, this is about as much as you'll see of it.
Alright. Next up is another one I was wanting for a long time, and I think this was one you presented a little while back. And maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were $5 a volume. But it's one that because of the multiple volumes it adds up, so I had to wait for a while. This is one of the older series Sentai had that they're getting rid of, since they're getting rid of DVDs, basically. And that's their series Psychic Squad.
Oh yes, I got a hold of that myself.
Looks like a fun little series. It's an older series. Again, don't really know a great deal about it, but it just looked interesting. It's one that's been on my radar for ages. And again, it finally came down to a low enough price. So I was like, I should go ahead and snap it up. You know?
Well, we've got a psychic thing going right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I am going alphabetically, more or less.
So my next one is one of 2 Switch games. And normally I try and stay away from these because I rarely finish them. But I was over at GameStop, and they had copies of this one and the other one that they were producing, and I don't know how long GameStop is going to be in business. But the original Katamari Damacy was re-released, kind of done in this re-roll edition, which the Switch is one of those, and it's kind of cool to have a physical copy of this. Katamari is a weird phenomenon that kind of ended around the PS3 era, and it started on the PlayStation 2, which is what this one originally aired on. And the story essentially is this god guy went on a drunken rampage and destroyed most of the universe. So, since he was kind of sad about that, he sent his son to go to Earth and roll up a bunch of stuff so that they can make new stars and planets with it. And essentially, you're going around rolling up common household items into a big ball, and you got to get that ball formed within X number of time limit, and that is essentially Katamari. It's a fun game. It really is. It's very weird. It has excellent music, and I am kind of glad to have this on me on the Switch.
Good times. Next up, I have a series that, from the best of my recollection, is supposed to be insane. It's supposed to be crazy. And from what I've heard about it, I suspect it's a series that would be right up your alley. But it's one I've been kind of curious about and wanted to see for a while. And again, part of the Sentai sale, I want to say this was another pretty cheap one, maybe $8 or $9, may have been more. And that is the series Punchline.
Ah, yes.
And
that's an interesting looking one.
Yes, very interesting. When your day begins with being held hostage and hijacking, can things get much worse? How about being kicked out of your own body? Or learning that if you can't repossess your physical shell, you'll trigger a panic-fueled apocalypse that will wipe out all the life on the planet, etc., etc. You know, it just gets weirder from there. Like I said, I've heard pretty good things about this. I've heard that it is utterly insane. I can be hit or miss with those series, but when they're well done, I sometimes enjoy them very much. So I'm looking forward to giving that one a go.
It has an interesting magic girl type thing. I had a cat try and roll across a keyboard.
Yes.
But I saw Rage Select do a playthrough of the video game version of that.
Oh, video game version?
It is very over-the-top looking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speaking of video game versions, they had a sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally decided, you know, I've got the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2. That's Mega Man 1 through 11. I've got the Mega Man X Collection on PlayStation 2. So, what I need is Mega Man 11. Which is the newest Mega Man that was released. And it is supposed to be really, really good. And they reduced the price considerably. So, I said, you know, for that price, I'm willing to check it out. I like the Mega Mans. They're the shooter platformers. Known for insane difficulty in places, but still not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know even you've heard of Mega Man.
Oh, no, I've heard of Mega Man, yeah. It's been ages since I played a Mega Man game, but, you know, I've heard of them. No doubt about it. Next one up, I've heard mixed things about. It's not have a reputation for being top class, but it does have really nice artwork and it looks interesting. And that's a series called Rail Wars. And that's this was another real cheap pickup. Again, I think it was probably $7 or $8. And basically not much more to say about that. I was just adding to my Sentai collection. This was part of that last big... I think that was part of that last big sale I did.
Shoot, between the both of us, we might have their entire
Well, we don't have their entire catalog, but we got quite a bit of it. Yeah.
So this next one is a video game.
Mm-hmm.
I went and I saw a movie that inspired me to pick up some Lego games. So one of them I wasn't going to pick up, but it got marked down by $20.
Nice.
and that is Lego DC Villains. The supervillain set, it looks really awesome. You get to craft your own supervillain, and the Lego games are fun.
Mm-hmm.
They are fun. I'm right now trying to play the Lego Movie one, but there's so many glitches with the original Lego Movie game. I'm hoping that I'm not going to get frustrated and just quit, but we'll see. We will see.
Well, good luck. And my last one, as promised, going back to American stuff. One of my many pre-orders of the
America.
recent... What?
America.
Yeah. And this one, in predictable fashion, pissed me off because it was an Oscar nominee that arrived the day after the Oscars. I knew that was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. And that was from Disney Movie Club. I got Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Woo, shiny.
And it's shiny and 4K. Which makes this 2 4K that I now have, which, for all the good that does me.
I want to see that myself.
Yeah, but this is, from what I've seen, it looks like a really fun movie. It looks like it'll be well worth watching. I did love the first Wreck-It Ralph, as we said on my previous pickup.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the movie. I have high hopes for this one, but... From everything I've seen, it was probably one of the weaker of this year's animated contenders. At least that got a nod, and of some of the other ones that didn't. But
the original was nominated as well, and it had a chance of winning, I thought.
And that was one that we could have done on this week's. If you have not checked in our top 15.
Did it lose? It lost to Brave.
I think it lost to Brave, yes.
Which, that's one of those few times where I actually believe that the Disney film was as strong as the Pixar film.
I love Brave, but I do think Wreck-It Ralph was as good or better. Yes. But anyway, there you go.
Who knows? Maybe you'll look at that and say this was better than the winner. Well, probably not.
No.
All right, so... The main event for me, and the main inspiration, also marked down $20 because it's in theaters right now. I saw this on Rage Select. They were playing it, and it looked fun, and that is the Lego Movie 2 game.
Nice.
And I got to play for you after this is over. There's a song in there where they talk about getting stuck inside your head, and it's a song basically about earworms that they used to brainwash people.
Nice.
And it is hilarious. And this looks really good. So I do look forward to it. I would just really like to beat the first Lego Movie game if it doesn't become too buggy for me to bother with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in any case, that is the last of my pickups.
Good deal.
So, with that being said, let us know what you picked up this week. I'm sure it was something fun.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like our page, subscribe, and share. Because sharing is caring.
Yes.
And we are past the 100 subscriber mark. Mm-hmm. We're actually now in the safer zone. We'd have to have quite a few people run away from our page now to take us below 100 again. And that's good.
You're tempting fate there.
I am. But any case, thank you all for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Goodbye.